produces inferior results for strength and size, guarantees muscular imbalances, has a higher injury risk, and is extremely boring.
Minimalism will fail you, but you might want to do it anyway. Most of the people that I interact with don't actually care and they just want a decent physique. And you need to realize that achieving that doesn't take maximalism approaches. The retort to going to the gym most of the time that people say is they don't have the time. But if you put out minimalist content like Jeff Nippard has done, you realize that 30 minutes, 4 times, 5 times a week, if that, probably 2 to 3 times a week is enough. Delay your pursuit for maximalism. There needs to be a delineation between you being an expert bodybuilder and a beginner trying to get into the gym. If the entry level is so high that they think nothing besides 6 times a week, 2 hours a day is something that can get them started, then no one will get there in the first place. AlphaDestiny said, what you'll do is exacerbate weaknesses over the span of multiple years of training. And he's 100% correct. When you have a weakness like your arms and you constantly train them with, let's say, 2 sets at the end of a push session or a pull session, that over time will get worse and worse and worse. The rabbit hole that I fell down was focusing too much on small, minute details. You can't really exacerbate weaknesses that you don't already know are there. Eugene Teo in a recent video will explain that when he did his squat, he was so focused on keeping the bar in a perfect vertical line, he went from a 200 kilo squat to a 100 and even 80 kilo squat. No one in their right mind is going to argue that halving your squat strength and going nowhere near failure is the best way for muscle growth. But with an over-analytical mind, you can trick yourself into thinking it is. By constantly lowering and lowering the weight with this arbitrary standard that you will never ever meet. I avoided hip hinges and squats and different movements because I had such a lengthy injury history that I disregard the movement altogether. The majority of beginners need to focus on the heavy basics, but allowing for some maximalism. Shift your training to higher volumes on those weaknesses. If you enjoy it like how I enjoy it, then you'll gain something from it. You'll constantly thrive off the idea that you can gain a 1% advantage. But if you honestly don't care, you don't need to spend hours and hours focusing on your iliac lats. Hard, heavy basics are going to be the majority of your work. But at the same time, you can't be the bro who thinks pull-ups are great for your biceps and chest training is going to cover your triceps. What they think comes from their own experiences. Anecdotal evidence is weak. You can't go off a single experience to express how everyone should train. The only real point in making this video is to show that consistency is the main way forward, both in a bodybuilding context and a lifestyle context. Even though I didn't really enjoy it, I spent most of my time power building and focusing on getting my numbers for the squat, bench, and deadlift up, even if I didn't enjoy it and it didn't really fit with what I like to do. But once I started training like a bodybuilder, imbalances started to correct themselves just slightly, and I actually enjoyed my training more. Whereas if you get something from the squat, bench, and deadlift that someone else doesn't, you need to continue it based on your own longevity. You won't continue something you don't enjoy. The incidence of burnout is always something that you have to be wary of. It can take away the enjoyment of a game that you want to be in for 5 to 10 years. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.